What a load of rubbish.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on the warm-up, coming to you live from Wembley ahead of the 136th FA Cup final. As you might expect, we're in the bar at the Hilton Hotel overlooking the stadium, where hundreds of Chelsea and Arsenal fans are begging Porky not to tip their side to win. We'll be talking to a host of top guests, including Henry Windsor from The Times, former Arsenal captain Frank McClintock, and Grammy Award-winning U2 producer Steve Lillywhite, who also happens to be a massive Chelsea fan. Will this be Arsene Wenger's last chance for glory, or will Antonio Conte win the double in his first season at Chelsea? Don't forget, we'll be looking ahead up to Scotland as well, where the treble is up for grabs with Celtic. 08717 223344. We'll keep you across the cricket. We've got rugby going on this afternoon as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes live from Wembley on the FA Cup final warm-up. This is talkSPORT. We are the Two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good afternoon to a very, very hot and very, very sweaty Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good afternoon to Mr. Parry.
Well, thanks, Mike. I'm a bit hot, but I'm not that sweaty. Believe me. I've got my mobile shower with me. I've got my wet towels. It is quite warm in here, but don't worry. I've got all the facilities that are going to keep me fresh. Throughout 3 hours.
Do you know they say if you drink hot tea, it cools you down? Well, so I hope you'll be drinking plenty of that.
I don't believe that load of nonsense.
Really?
Funny enough, my mother used to tell me that when I was young.
But you almost forgot your mother there for a minute.
Yeah,
poor woman.
Yeah. But anyway, listen.
Heaven help us.
You said that I'm hot, and I am. You said I'm sweaty. I'm not, but I'm very, very excited because it's Cup final day.
Yes, and we are standing literally in the shadow of the arch at Wembley.
Absolutely. I love the FA Cup final more than any game in the world.
Yeah.
I really do. And I was just a poor little lad, aged very young.
What, is this going to be like the Monty Python Yorkshire sketch?
That's right. But my dad put me in the Morris Minor, and we drove down the A41.
Did you have to beg for petrol and all that?
Yeah, we did actually, yeah. And there was one very cruel moment. We were going down the A41 between Chester and Ipswich, and it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was a low...
Between Chester and Ipswich? Are we going down anywhere near Ipswich?
Chester and Whitchurch.
No, I was going to say, because if you start going to Ipswich on your way down
be on the
Chester,
wrong way.
You'll never get
Chester and Whitchurch. And there was one lone Everton fan that and the headlights of the Morris Minor picked out an Everton fan, and it was about 4:30 in the morning.
What time were you driving?
4:30.
Why?
When my dad didn't know how long he was going to take to get to Wembley. He'd never driven to London
before. What sort of an
before.
idiot was he?
Well, no, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? But he had no idea how long
he runs in the family.
It would take us to get to London. So
Mike Parry's dad thinks it's going to take 12 hours to drive from Chester to London.
It was a bit like that, to be honest. So as we're going down this sort of road to Whitchurch, in the headlights of the Morris Minor, there's one lone Everton fan, and he's got his thumb out.
He's got a scarf on.
He's got a scarf and everything. He's got a blue suit on. Right. And his thumb's out, and he's something like this. And we must have been the first car in about 20 minutes, And so my father, who was a bit of a social snob, kept looking.
There's a funny thing.
Kept looking ahead of him, and I said, being like, how old I was.
Were you in the back or the front?
No, I was in the front. So to Dad, I said, "Oh, Dad, there's an Everton fan. We better give him a lift." My dad didn't answer me. Looked straight ahead, drove on, and then 2 yards up the road said, "He might have been a bit smelly."
You see,
didn't give the poor guy a lift.
The snobbery does run in the family.
Yeah,
but you were telling me earlier you've been to 27 FA Cup finals.
Yes, that's right.
Now, I'm not being funny, but how many of those actually featured Everton? Out of 27.
Right, 66 Everton went to that one.
Can you not just give me a number?
Well, hang on.
No, I don't want to hear the long version.
No, it's not a long version. 68 we didn't. Right. Didn't go in 84 because I was with you in America.
Yeah.
Made 85, the one that we should have won and should have got the double and the treble.
That's 2.
86.
That's 3.
95.
4.
And 209.
So that's 5.
Yes, that's
right. Out of 27. Not bad. Almost just a little bit under a fifth.
Yeah, exactly.
And how many of those did they win?
We only won. We won in 66, obviously, and we won in 84, which I didn't go to.
2.
And we won in 95.
Right,
2. Okay. 2 winners.
So I'm surprised that therefore the FA Cup final is your favourite day of football in the world.
Well, it's because I remember as a poor little lad from Chester, arriving at Wembley Way, and looking down Wembley Way and seeing the Twin Towers. And thinking, I cannot believe what I've just seen. You've got to remember that was the summer we won the World Cup, but nobody had seen the World Cup final by then. The FA Cup final came first. But as I speak to you now, I'm looking at the new Wembley, right? And it is so magnificent, I can't believe it. Now, you know that I quite like a bit of a, socialising before the game and all
Hospitality.
that. We are looking straight into either the Wembley, restaurant, Club Wembley, whatever they call it.
I can see a lot of tables.
All we can see are tables right up to the window.
But it's not really open yet, is it?
It's not open. We can see the waiters getting everything ready. Now, looming above that is this arch.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't the guy who built this called Richard Rogers or something? What was his name?
I think it's Sir something Rogers. I think it's Richard Rogers.
All right. But anyway, look, what he did was he said, how can I make this stadium...
Now, last time you were here, which is only a week ago,
yes.
you gave us all this malarkey about how it was constructed in such a way that the roof would always ensure the pitch was completely covered in sunshine.
Yes, that's right.
Which lots of people said was absolute nonsense.
Did you see the story this morning about the roof?
No.
It's going to take until 2020 to repair it. It doesn't work.
What's wrong with it?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
The roof doesn't work?
The roof doesn't work. Yeah, and they can only work...
Why not?
They can only work on it when there's not a game happening.
Okay.
Spurs are taking it over next season. They've got to postpone all work on it next season.
Okay.
And so it's going to take until 2020.
Well, what's wrong with it?
The cladding on the roof apparently is not good enough, and it does not deflect the sunlight the way I told you it should have done last week. Okay,
right.
But anyway, getting back to this magnificent spectre in front of me, right? I am looking now at the traditional Wembley steps, which go up on 4 levels. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
13 steps break, 13 steps break, 13 steps break, right up to the top to the Bobby Moore statue, which is just around
13,
to our left.
It's more than 13.
It's just shut up for a minute. Just around to our left, and then the most magnificent
16.
stadium.
I've just counted them.
Yeah, I know it's 16.
It's not 13. Well, why do you say 13?
16, because the first lot is 13, the rest are 16.
No, the first lot I've just counted 16.
Just shut up for a minute, will you? And this magnificent arch, which holds the whole of the roof of the stadium up.
Yeah.
And Sir Rogers made it...
Sir Rogers, as he's become known.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sir Rogers.
Made it so different to any other stadium in the world. Even when the Chinese thought they could outdo us by making the Bird's Nest Stadium.
That didn't have an arch, though.
Who talks about the Bird Nest these days? Nobody.
No.
But they still
Well,
talk about
they do
Wembley
in China.
as the greatest stadium
Probably
in the world.
people who live in Beijing talk about it.
Yeah, they probably do.
They can see it every day and go,
but
look at that. Why isn't anyone using that stadium?
Nobody goes to Beijing. Now then...
What do you mean nobody? There's 1 billion people living in China.
Yeah, but they don't go to Beijing. They live there.
Of course they do.
Now, the other thing I was going to say to you,
We're
Mike...
overlooking the Arsenal fan zone, by the way.
Well, we are...
It's a bit empty at the moment.
We are. But what I was going to say to you was this, right?
Do you know what the worst news is for Arsenal fans? Piers Morgan's not here.
Oh, that's right.
I got in touch with him last night. I said, look, we'd love you to come on the show.
Yes.
He said, look, I've had such a terrible season. He said, I'm in so much pain. He said, I'm going to France.
Yeah,
so he's not even coming here.
But I mean, that is, I tell you what, that illustrates to me that a man is so disillusioned with his own team. He's not even, come on, I couldn't forgive that if it was my team. I would always go, whatever. But anyway, look, Piers is a good guy, despite the fact he didn't invite me to his 50th birthday party, so I'm not going to criticise him. Now, what I was going to say is, when I arrived at Wembley as a district...
We've seen the time,
in 66, right?
Yeah.
It was a pit. I mean, it was equivalent to really North Wales.
Really?
You know what I mean?
That bad?
It was, honestly, it was that bad. And yet, what's happened is, all those numpties who said, oh, take Wembley Stadium and put it in the Midlands. Well, you can't take Wembley Stadium and put it in the Midlands.
Well, what do you mean, all those
Wembley.
numpties? What, you mean other people that don't live in London?
Yeah, that's right.
Football supporters who live in the north of England who think it's unfair that when there's a competition between, say, Liverpool and Manchester United, they all have to come to London.
Yeah, well, you know...
Why wouldn't you put it in the Midlands?
It's a national stadium.
It's a natural thing to put it in the Midlands.
It's a national stadium. It should be in London. So what I was going to say is, just look at what the new Wembley Stadium's done to this area. As we look out from the Hilton Hotel here, right?
Yes.
At the Wembley Hilton Hotel.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you, the regeneration is enormous. I mean, this is not a pit anymore. This is Manhattan 2 almost, isn't it? You know what I mean? Well, it is, isn't it?
It's nothing like Manhattan.
Look at all the glass. Look at all the tall buildings. Look at all the new apartments.
That's Wembley Library over there.
Yeah, Wembley Library. Well,
is that
good
for
library.
the benefit of the Arsenal fans?
So
they can go and have a quiet read before they go watch the game?
No, they've left Highbury. Didn't you? Have you caught up on that?
It's still called the Library at the Emirates.
I don't think so.
It is.
I don't think so.
Anyway, listen, we haven't got much time because we've got lots to do. We are the two Mikes. We're live at Wembley ahead of the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Arsenal. I should just say, for anybody who is flying today, by the way, the Porky Jinx is very, very well involved in this.
Unbelievable.
British Airways have cancelled all flights out of Heathrow and Gatwick until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So if you're booked on something, please do check with your airline.
Unbelievable.
We're just telling you this. Porky was only in touch with them yesterday. As soon as he does that, the entire system has collapsed. We'll talk some more about that later on.
Yeah.
Now, you'd have to say, over this season, Mike, there's only been 3 big questions that they've been asking at the Emirates, right? One, Is Arsene Wenger going to walk away from the job?
Well, that's been a question that's been going on for far too long.
Is Alexis Sanchez going to stay around if he walks away? And 3, is anyone going to stop this guy, Robbie Lyle, from upsetting everybody by filming outside the stadium after every single game?
Unbelievable.
And causing massive ructions up there at the Emirates.
I'd call him a thorn in the side.
A thorn in the side. Well, luckily he's right here, because
everybody
who's anybody is right here in the Hilton at Wembley. Robbie, very good afternoon to you, man.
I'm not a thorn in the side.
What would you describe yourself as? Would you describe yourself as the conscience of Arsenal?
I'm an Arsenal fan.
Right.
And we just allow Arsenal fans to have their honest opinions on what's been going on.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been a great season, we have to admit, especially in the Premier League. We were very poor this season, but we got a chance today to redeem ourselves a little bit.
It has been an amazing year, Robbie, hasn't it? Because I mean, in every other year that people have asked questions about Arsene Wenger and about whether Arsenal can just continue to get 4th place or 3rd place and get into the Champions League, it seems to me like only this year would something like your YouTube channel have been as successful as it has been, because it's really reached kind of critical mass now, hasn't it? With fans fighting amongst themselves, being upset after every single game. I mean, it's kind of you're a man of the moment, as it were, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've been going for 4 years, and it's not our aim to have fans, fighting amongst themselves. Or it's not about that. We're passionate Arsenal fans. We want to see the best for the club, but we're an honest channel, so we're there in the good times, we're there in the bad times, and unfortunately this season, it hasn't been great, unfortunately in the league. But as I said, I'm hoping that today, smiles can be put back on people's faces.
Robbie, do you believe that you're taking football back to the fans? Arsenal's a very expensive club to go and watch these days, and generally speaking, around the Premier League, prices go up and up and up. Are you bringing it back to the street?
I hope so. That was the aim. The aim was to give fans a voice. So I'm hoping that that's what we're doing, that we're giving fans an outlet, a chance to have their say, because in the past, fans haven't really had a say, and we're such an important part of the game. I mean, without us, there is no game. But if you kind of look at the game over the years, you hear from ex-football, ex-players, the players, TV, but you never hear from the ordinary fans that, you can see outside, whether Arsenal are doing well or whether they're doing badly, they're going to turn up, they're going to be here, they're going to be spending their money, so they deserve a voice as well.
And what about the internal workings of the fan sort of structure in the Emirates? Because we hear an awful lot of the time that certainly in the last, say, 6 months, a lot of fans haven't been turning up. There's been some empty seats around the place. People saying, if Wenger's going to be staying around, if they're part of the Wenger out crowd, we're not going to renew our season tickets. Arsenal have always famously sort of been very good at maintaining the sales of their tickets and all that. I mean, what is the actual position with Arsenal fans? Are a lot of them walking away? Is that what you're being told?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I still think fans, they turn up. Regardless. I mean, all right, that last game against Sunderland, there were a lot of empty seats. I was kind of surprised at that. But the rest of the season, I'd say nearly every game has been, it has been full. There are some season ticket holders that have become very frustrated and just either given their tickets to other people and haven't turned up. But I'd still say that, the away support has been magnificent, despite us being terrible on the road. So the fans are still there. We're still behind the team. We still want to win,
Robbie, you've no doubt been an Arsenal fan long enough to remember the George Graham days, right?
Yeah.
Now, I loved Avenel Road. I loved it because when I walked there, you walked down that dip and you saw, the North Stand and all that kind of stuff. And the dressing rooms were out onto the street, the windows. I loved that ground. And I thought George Graham's era was magnificent. Do you share the same memory? I mean, I'm not an Arsenal fan.
It was a great era.
Right.
It was a great era.
Go on.
It was a fantastic era. I mean, we used to go to...
Are the feelings you felt then or the feelings you feel now?
You know what? That was a great era. And then, early Arsene Wenger's era was even better, I'd say, because, we had the best team in the country, I felt. We had one of the best teams in Europe. We had some of the best players ever to have played football in the Premier League. So both eras were great, I just want to see a return to that. And I think that's what most fans... I think what upsets a lot of fans is the fact that in those times at Highbury, we had the best team, and we were winning things. And we moved to a new stadium, which is a brilliant stadium, by the way. And we were told, listen, be patient. We're going to, once we've got it all paid off and everything, we're going to be able to compete with teams like Bayern Munich. Well, this season we got beaten by them 5-1 home and away, which shows clearly we're not. So that is why fans are upset.
And what about today? I'm surprised, as I'm sure many fans were, to see Peter Cech's not going to be playing.
That's right.
Seems an incredible
I'm surprised
decision, right? Also, we don't really know yet whether it's going to be Sanchez up front, whether it's going to be Giroud. What are you expecting from Wenger? And, is he the most stubborn man you've ever come across?
He is pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally would have kept Petr Cech in. He's been brilliant recently. He's really been on form. Don't get me wrong, it's not like you're putting in a dud keeper. Ospina is a top keeper, and he's done well for us this season. He's not really put a foot wrong, but I would have kept Petr Cech in for a game like this because he's such a leader. Up front for me, it has to be Danny Welbeck and Alexis. Has to be. The last game against Chelsea, that was one of the big problems. We started with Giroud, and they coped with him easily because he's not very quick.
Sure. Now, Robbie, you are a celebrity amongst Arsenal fans because you're a man of the street. You're a celebrity from the terraces.
You're many ways what Porky would like to be.
Hang on. Now, another celebrity today, a certain man called Piers Morgan, has said he's gone to France today because he can't stand the pain of coming to another final. He thinks they might lose. What do you think of that sort of reaction from a multi-millionaire fan who has decided...
Up.
Excuse me.
Just because he didn't invite him to his birthday party.
Excuse me. A multi-millionaire fan who can't be harassed to get here today. What do you think about
family show?
Piers should be here. You know, I've met Piers many a times, and he is a passionate Arsenal fan. I can say that.
Yeah.
But he should, for me, every Arsenal fan should be here. You know what I mean? Look, it's a chance to win a trophy. Of
course it is.
And over the years, Arsenal fans have moaned and said, you know what? Oh, who cares about fourth place? I'd rather a trophy. Well, that is the choice this year. We ain't going to get fourth place.
Yeah.
Let's win a trophy and then try and rebuild for next season.
Very good.
So what are you going to give us as a prediction for the score?
I'm going for 2-1 to Arsenal.
2-1 to Arsenal.
Fancy us today.
90 minutes.
I fancy us. Nobody. Everybody's written us off.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the biggest thing you've got to fear during the course of the next couple of hours is Porky picking Arsenal. This is a man who's brought down British Airways, right? So, what you don't want is him tipping Arsenal to win. Why have you asked for bagpipe music?
Well, apart from the fact that we're at the FA Cup final here in England, kicking off at 5:30, at 3 o'clock today, Celtic Aberdeen, the Scottish Cup final.
I think it's a bit of a stereotype
Camden
to play
Park.
bagpipe music.
No, I don't.
Hey?
I think bagpipe music's wonderful. I love bagpipe music. Mull of Kintyre.
Well, nobody's singing Mull of Kintyre.
Mist rolling over.
Mist rolling in from the sea, actually.
The sea, that's right, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, listen, it is the Scottish FA Cup final today.
What's so special about this Scottish FA Cup final?
Well, I think I'm right in saying that if Celtic get this against Aberdeen, it will only be the third time in the history of that amazing club that they've won the treble.
That's right, exactly right.
But also,
Brendan Rodgers would be insufferable, won't he, if he wins the treble?
Well, insufferably good, I suppose, because he's done such a good thing. But it also comes in the week.
You know what I've noticed about you, by the way?
What's that?
Ever since we were on Rod Stewart's plane, you've been much nicer about Celtic than you've ever been before.
I've never been dismissive about Celtic.
Brendan
and
Rodgers.
Also, of course, it comes in the same week as they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the legendary Lisbon Lions victory in the European Cup. The first British club to win the European Cup.
Now, just before we speak to Stuart Weir, who's our man up there watching it for us, right? Vicky says this: we desperately need the Porky Jinx to work today. Please choose Celtic, Mr. Parry.
No, I'm not made any predictions today at all. I've not made any predictions for this game or for the Celtic Aberdeen, but I will make a prediction for this game 2 minutes before we go off air today.
Will you?
So I can't be harassed and harangued if my prediction goes wrong.
2 minutes before we go off air, it will be half time.
Yes.
So why are you going to make a prediction then?
No. Since before we go off air, will be an hour and a half before the FA Cup final starts here in England.
Very confusing trying to keep up with it, isn't it? Anyway, Stuart, Mr. Stuart Weir is here from the Herald, of course, head of sport. Mr. Stuart Weir, how the devil are you?
Only Porky could ever refer to a Scottish song, Mull of Kintyre, that was written by a Scouser.
Yeah, exactly right. About a part of Scotland that's practically in Ireland or England.
Yeah, but you know the story behind it, Stu.
No, we haven't got time for that.
No, for years and years, the pipe band who did the old Bagpipe were in dispute with Paul McCartney about whether it should be paid more than 35 quid.
I know. Because he can't afford to pay the band, obviously.
Exactly.
Now, Stuart, first question, of course. How disappointed were your readers this morning when they opened up My Sporting Saturday to not read another great epic from me and from somebody else who they'd never heard of?
So
Hey?
that makes 2 in 2 weeks.
I mean, this is all very relevant to the Scottish FA Cup
Excuse
final,
me.
of course.
I'm having a private
It's
conversation
more relevant
with
to
Mr.
my
Weir.
readers, I'll have you know.
Hey?
More relevant to my readers.
Who did it this week?
It was former Labour Party spin doctor Simon Peer.
Ah, there you go. Simon Peer.
Simon
He used to
Peer.
work for me, that guy.
Really? Yeah.
God, you're really scraping the barrel now.
Was that an end of the Peer show type column? Was
Yeah,
it?
very similar. Very similar. I had to fire him, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
But there we are.
Wouldn't be the
Another
first.
story.
Yeah.
Anyway, Porky, so tell us about Celtic's team news.
Well, Celtic's team news is that Moussa Dembele has recovered from injury. He's going to be available to start. I think that's right, Stu, is it not?
Yeah, I don't think he will. He's been out with a hamstring injury since the cup semi-final.
Sorry,
Porky
Stu.
jinx
I
there.
just gave you the information. He's starting, right? Now, if you want to diss me every time you come onto this talkSPORT radio slot, pal, you have got a limited career.
I think Dembele's been training all week. There's no guarantee that he would play, though.
Yeah.
And what about Ryan Christie? He's unavailable for Aberdeen because of the terms of his loan deal from Celtic. That's pretty unusual, isn't it, to have a guy on loan from Celtic to another club in the SPL?
Well, not really. Not if you're trying to damage the prospects of your greatest rivals, Rangers.
That's what I mean. It's a bit stupid of Aberdeen to have taken a player from Celtic, isn't it?
No, I think he was needing game time. I think Brendan Rodgers identified that, and the fact that he actually admires the way Aberdeen play their football. So I think it was a good mix, a good combination, a good chance for Ryan Christie. Unfortunately, of course, I don't think anyone banked on the fact that both Celtic and Aberdeen would be meeting in the Scottish Cup final, and therefore Celtic, as his parent club, wouldn't let him play against them just in case he turned up and scored a couple of goals.
Right, Stu, just getting serious for a minute. Look, Celtic have had a magnificent season, and I don't care what you say, and Brendan Rodgers has been brilliant. To go through a season unbeaten, in the Scottish Premier League is fantastic. But is there a reality in Scotland that actually, Celtic have had no competition this season, and a desperate urge for everybody in Scotland to say, when will the billionaire arrive to revive Rangers so we can get back to what it used to be like?
Well, if a billionaire arrived at Ibrox to take over Rangers, he'd have to pay off some of the debt first before he could actually invest anything. Yeah. I think the big thing, people can say that the standard of football and the quality of football isn't that good in Scotland, and that Celtic had an easy ride of it. That's not the case. You still have to turn up for 38 matches and all the cup games, and to go all of those matches unbeaten, be 90 minutes away from the perfect, faultless season is quite remarkable. And I think everyone should acknowledge just what a great job Brendan Rodgers has done on that front.
Yeah. Absolutely right. So, are you seeing a Celtic win here? Is the treble very much on the cards? I mean, there's not that many people who would expect an upset today from Aberdeen, is there?
Yeah, only wishful thinking Aberdeen fans probably.
Yeah.
I do think Celtic, if Celtic score first, the game's over and done with. I can see Celtic will get too much firepower, regardless of who plays up front. But guys like Sinclair, guys like Roberts, they can all contribute goals. The big thing is, I just don't see Aberdeen being able to go 90 minutes without making the usual sort of catastrophic blunder at the back and gifting Celtic a goal. So I think it might be tight, but I can still see Celtic winning by a couple of goals at least.
Yeah, there's a great stat here, Stu. Celtic and Aberdeen have met 6 times in the Scottish Cup final, and Aberdeen have won the last 3. And,
I've been there.
Sorry?
I've been at the last
exactly. And of course, we mustn't forget that the man who was the architect of Aberdeen's greatest years was Sir Alex Ferguson, and he's not in the game anymore, but he started any revolution Aberdeen had. I think there is a chance that Aberdeen could upset the apple cart purely through the law of averages. Celtic can't keep on winning. You know what I mean?
Listen, on that one, I never believed the law of averages. There's a Rangers manager lost his job because he believed in the law of averages this season. Yeah. I think, I think Aberdeen might run Celtic close, but given the last time they won the Scottish Cup was 27 years ago, and I was still driving around in a car that was, I was still driving around in my Ford Sierra Cosworth at the time. That's how long ago it was. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's the first Porky jinx. Actually, it's not the first Porky jinx of the day because he's already brought down British Airways, unfortunately.
Grounded them.
So we just mentioned that earlier on. Stuart, listen, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Stuart.
Enjoy the afternoon. We are here, of course. That is the Scottish Cup final. We'll keep you updated with all of that. That gets kicked off at 3 o'clock. Porky says he thinks that Aberdeen have got a chance.
Well, they have got a chance.
They have got a chance.
There's two teams on the pitch. Of course, they've got a chance.
In fairness, they have got a chance.
And I just see this hiccup, which could really upset the apple cart. I don't think they're going to win, but they could.
Yeah.
Of course
anything's possible in a game of football in 90 minutes. Now, what we haven't talked about yet, and we are going to talk about Manchester City later on, but did you see the story that former Hull City boss Marco Silva has now agreed a deal with Watford? So he's staying in the Premier League, having gone from Hull. He's coming down south, and he's going to manage Watford. Marco Silva.
And who did Manchester City sign overnight?
They've signed another guy called Silva.
And who did Manchester City have on their books?
Well, they've already got a guy called Silva.
There's 3 Silvers in the mix.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Well, there's plenty of people called Smith. There's plenty of people called Jones. We just happen to have 3 people called Silva.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what about this guy Silva in Watford? Do you think that's going to be a marriage made in heaven?
No, I don't think any marriages are made. Well, no marriages are made in heaven, are they? And the problem is, what you have is there are so many continental managers and overseas managers, South American managers in the Premier League. What you have to find out very, very quickly is whether or not the chemistry works between a manager of one nationality and one persuasion and the players of another. And of course, I'm not talking about English players because most Premier League clubs only have 4 or 5 English players anyway. But what I'm saying is it's getting that lethal combination of interpretation and understanding of football together, like Mr. Conte's done at Chelsea so brilliantly, which he'll probably exhibit here today.
I was going to ask you, I mean, there can't be too many managers who have, in the first season in the Premier League, have won the double, because he is on the brink of doing that.
Out the top of my head, I think Mr. Ancelotti did it for Chelsea, but he's not here today. And the one that, of course, I always remember is Kenny Dalglish, who was player manager for Liverpool. And I even remember him scoring the winning goal, which clinched them the Premier League title, and they won the FA Cup in the same season because they beat Everton. So,
it's very exalted company if he's going to be in that company of only 2 other people.
I think that's the 3.
That's extraordinary stuff. Now, we've noticed, Porky, that there's a lot of Silvers around. You did mention, we were talking about Marco Silva there, who's got the job at Watford. There is, of course, David Silva, who plays for Manchester City. There's another Silva, who has just joined Manchester City. We don't know an awful lot about the third Silva.
Well, Henry could probably
But we're about to do that because, of course, nobody knows which Henry you're talking about. We haven't introduced him yet. Henry Winter is here from the Times. Henry, very good afternoon to you. Welcome.
Today's all about silverware.
It is all about silverware. As you see, he's getting into it very soon.
Do you think that...
See, when you work for the top people's paper, you can come up with stuff like that.
Hang on, when we've got Henry Winter on the show, I just say Henry. People know who we're talking about. You know, it's like Bailey. You know what I mean?
Bailey?
The photographer.
The drink.
You know? Oh, yeah, the drink. That's right. I love that,
So the problem with Porky is he's stuck in the 70s. You know, he assumes everybody knows who Bailey is.
Most people
But seriously, Manchester City have signed this new Silva. What do you know about him, Henry?
Well, I've seen him play this season, but I saw him for the under-21s, and he was fantastic against England, him 2 years ago. In fact, Southgate will know about him because he was there, and he just sort of ran the game. They had William Carvalho in the middle, but Silva took the eye. I think he had the number 10 shirt on, but he was playing on the right. I mean, look, if you look at Manchester City, we all know they need defenders. So I think that will be the next wave. But what this shows is Pep means business. He has 100% backing from the owners. What is it, 43 million, could go up to 60 million for Bernardo Silva. If they get the left back in Mendy, then that's fantastic as well. Kyle Walker looks like he's leaving Spurs, you know, particularly with Kieran Trippier getting the call up for England. You know, they may be able to live with that.
Absolutely. Now, we're standing in the shadow of Wembley Stadium here.
Excuse me, I have another question about Manchester City, if you're going to start interrupting.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you think Pep's problem has been that he's never had to defend really before, and he's now having to work out how to defend for the first time really in his managerial career?
In a league where there are ambushes round every corner, wherever you go. And that's the great thing. He was warned about this when he came. And look, probably the 2 mistakes that Pep has made, and I don't like the criticism of him because I've watched his teams, and you know what? I'd rather watch one of his teams than one of Mourinho's pragmatist teams. He makes kids fall in love with the game, with the quality of his football. Okay, he's had some fantastic players when he was at Bayern Munich and clearly with Messi at Barcelona. But I'll tell you what, Manchester City going forward, particularly when you put put Bernardo Silva in there as well. They've been, I think, very attractive to watch this season. So if he tightens the defence, he made a mistake with Joe Hart. Everyone could have told him that and did tell him that. He made a mistake of underestimating the fact there are ambushes round every corner in this league. But I tell you what, they mean business for next season already.
Of course they do. It's all very, very interesting, Henry.
Sorry, Paul Keane needs to ask you a question now.
I'm sorry that my colleague
I do feel like a marriage counsellor, sort of coming between two sort of bickering
It always goes horribly wrong, by the way.
You're only staying together for the listeners.
I'm sorry that my colleague asked you a question that had nothing to do with Wembley, the FA Cup final, which is the point of this show. The Arc is in front of us. I'm going to ask you what you think about Wembley. The Arch. The Arch and the Arch.
Raiders of the Lost Ark we're talking about.
In a bit. But Henry, you said to me that you weren't a great fan of Wembley. Let's talk about the FA Cup final itself. I've been picking up this week that some guys like yourself, scribes of enormous authority, think that the FA Cup might have come back to life this season.
I think it has.
Might be re-establishing its authority.
But look, if you look at, say, print journalists, obviously we're all sort of multimedia nowadays, but sort of my generation, I'm 54. I grew up.
You don't look it. You don't look it. It doesn't look it, does it?
He certainly doesn't. No.
It's all comparative, Mike. But no, I grew up in an era when basically it was the only thing on television.
Exactly.
And the cup final was huge, and whichever channel you watch, it was on from early in the morning, and it was It's a Knockout and the songs and the Meet the Whites.
We used to go to the hotels, didn't we, and watch all the teams get on the coach.
I just remember watching it as a kid, like Henry, a similar age, and it was the only live football you ever saw.
Well, that's right.
And the sun was always shining, and there was always a shadow on the pitch.
28 million people would watch it.
Incredible.
28 million people watched the FA Cup final.
Yeah, I think that, because I checked on that, because I went to see Eddie McGreedy, who was over here, who played for Chelsea in 70. And I checked the figure, and there were 28 million who watched that.
So why do you think it's coming back this season? What's happened this season?
Well, I think that people have realised that fourth is not a trophy anymore.
Right.
And I think it's particularly poignant for Wenger today. Obviously, it's extraordinarily situated. I mean, I've been a Wenger out man for 4 or 5 years now, because you could just see he was being overtaken by other people. And I think you talked to Robbie earlier, and he used the right word, which Wenger is stubborn. He wouldn't bring in coaches who will challenge him. Patrick Vieira, who went off to Manchester City, and he's building his career there, the emblem of the Invincibles, he should have been sitting alongside Wenger and nurtured as a long-term successor to Wenger. Wenger doesn't like being challenged, and it's been a huge issue, and that's one of the reasons why they've struggled, namely the leaders in the Arsenal team. Okay, Mertesacker is coming back today, but you worry about his pace. He's a leader. Petr Cech, I mean, it's absolute madness from Arsenal's perspective that he's not starting. I mean, it is.
What is the thinking behind that? What's the thinking?
Well, but the thinking is that he's used Ospina in the FA Cup. Obviously, the semi-final is different because of injury, and also in the Champions League. So Wenger saying, well, if I promised, I mean, Wenger is a man of his word, to be fair to him. So maybe he feels the loyalty. But the fact is, Ospina's leaving for Fenerbahce. Yes. He's on a fast plane to Istanbul tomorrow, probably. So I find it very strange. Petr Cech has been, along with Sanchez, has been Arsenal's best player of the season. He's been very good in.
And surely he's a big game player, isn't he?
And against Chelsea, I mean, he will be absolutely pumped up in the dressing room. He's one of the few leaders. So this comes back to the whole point about Wenger, the leadership, board meeting next week. I don't have too much faith in the Arsenal board. There's no real football expertise there, which is a case in many clubs. But it's a huge day for Wenger today. If it's a really bad defeat, it'll be interesting to see the reaction of the fans.
Yes.
But the thing about the FA Cup, we go back to '88 and all the, I remember doing predictions on the day of the game and just saying, well, they'll get thumped by that great Liverpool team, Wimbledon. So look, anything can happen in the cup final.
That's right. Just on the Arsenal thing, Usmanov offered £1 billion, right? Yeah. What did Kroenke pay for the club in the first place? And doesn't that illustrate that Arsenal fans now are irrelevant to the machinations of the Arsenal boardroom?
The saddest moment in the week was when Kroenke was talking about the fact that he wasn't going anywhere, and he described himself. I don't think he described himself as an owner or a supporter. He described himself as an investor, and that is, you have to understand.
That is very telling.
Okay, so that happens with a lot of time. I mean, your club, you got Mashiri, who will obviously probably have wanted to take over Arsenal with Usmanov. But the good thing about Mashiri and Abramovich, whatever the argument about how he actually generated his money in the first place, they actually do like football. Yeah. They do turn up. If you go down to Cobham and you go down and watch training down there, Abramovich will be watching the reserves and the youth team as well as watching the first team training. Kroenke didn't grow up with a picture of Perry Groves.
Abramovich's history and track record as an owner is impeccable. Yeah. He's got no loyalty to the managers unless they're winning. He changes them at will, but he still wins and wins and wins, and he spent £1 billion of his own money in doing it. Yep. That's a true football fan.
And also, he tends to invite them back. You know, I think Ranieri's been back, Ancelotti's been back. You know, I quite like that. And you know, you see him when he's there. He looks sort of slightly shy and diffident, if you can be, when you got to 10 billion in the bank. But look, he clearly loves it. And you've got to have a soft spot for someone who is passionate about their team.
Now, you've got a fascinating piece in the Times today, Henry. Big interview with Gary Lineker, who's become kind of the conscience of many things, not just the left, as you've said in the piece, or as he said in the left, but kind of he's the sort of thinking man's footballer, he's the thinking woman's crumpet. He's kind of all things to all people now, isn't he, Gary Lineker?
But in a way, he always has been. I mean, he was one of the first footballers. I mean, you know, he went out to Japan, obviously went to Barcelona. He was making a point that he's the only Englishman to have played for Barcelona since the war. Obviously, you know, a fair few English players have gone over to Real Madrid. I quite like that. I would like to see more of our players go overseas. I mean, I was fortunate. I got sent to school in Paris and Munich, and I think about those experiences every day. I think it gives you a slightly different view of the world. Is it
an abuse of the position he's in, abuse of his power to start?
No, because he does it on social media.
Entering into social networking on issues that don't include football.
Well, sorry, that's a bit patronising.
No, it's not patronising. I'm asking you the question.
He's got beliefs.
Yeah.
He's got views. Why can't he express them? He's not starting match of the day by saying, you know, vote left or vote right. I mean, he doesn't actually do that anyway. The political
Although there
point
are a lot
he's
of
been
people
making
who work
recently.
for the BBC.
No, let me finish. The political point he's been making recently is actually, if kids, you want a control of this country, the future of this country, which obviously didn't happen over Brexit. Get out and register to vote. And a lot of people have been saying to kids, get out and register to vote because it's your country, it's your future. And I don't think there's any... He's not telling them which way to vote. So look, I spend a lot of the time defending football because everyone says, oh, football is really boring. We have an interesting footballer, Gary Lineker, was always very eloquent when he played.
Yeah.
So why not? So why?
No,
why
absolutely. Listen, I'm not against it. All I know about the double standards is we do have them in Britain in almost every walk of life.
Of course we do.
There's a lot of people I know that work for the BBC who are on air for the BBC who are told if you express any view about anything at all on Twitter or anywhere else, you will be sacked from your contract at the BBC. So he's obviously got some kind of special relationship with them in which they allow him not only to work for one of their rivals, but they allow him to say whatever he likes.
Yeah, but he didn't come into the BBC as a trained journalist. He came in as a sort of former player, as a pundit, someone who's got views. You know, I think we should be a little bit more grown up about a debate about football.
I don't know why Porky's got it in for him.
No,
I think there's something to do with... I mean, he even plays for Everton.
He was an Everton legend.
Because he left. I was about to say,
but you'd like him to stop making so much noise about the politics.
Hang on. He had one season Everton. He scored 40 goals. He was one of our greatest ever strikers.
He turned Hansen inside out here.
He certainly did, except in two cup finals, unfortunately. One cup final when Grobbelaar dropped the ball and he put it away.
Can we stop talking about Everton for 5 seconds?
And then we got done by Rushy, didn't we? Twice, Kevin Ratcliffe and Rushy. However,
exactly. Even Henry's telling you to move on. He's only here for 2 minutes.
I love Gary Lineker.
You do not love Gary Lineker.
I love Gary Lineker.
We're going to explore this a bit further. Listen, Henry, thank you very much indeed. You've got a prediction for us today before we let you go?
I think it'll be tighter than people think. It's going to be hot out there. Wenger's got to get his team right. I would like to see him inflict, if he's going to do well, inflict some pace on that Chelsea defence. But if he goes with Giroud, I'm not so sure. I think Chelsea...
Hilton at Wembley, which is very, very warm. It's starting to fill up with Arsenal and Chelsea fans, of course, ahead of the live talkSPORT commentary of the FA Cup final, the 136th FA Cup final, no less, between Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsene Wenger, I'm going to talk to you about in a moment, because this could be a real red-letter day for him in terms of the number of FA Cups that he's won. But why are we playing a Kylie Minogue song? What's that got to do with Arsenal-Chelsea? What's it got to do with it?
She's 49 today.
Is she?
Can you imagine Kylie Minogue is 49?
Are you like the sort of the town crier of celebrity birthdays?
Kylie Minogue should have been frozen in time at the age of 23.
Hey?
You see what I mean?
Well, cryogenically frozen.
No, Kylie Minogue will always be 23. You know, in those high heel, in those sort of club-type shoes and that mini skirt, singing "You should be so lucky."
Wasn't she wearing the shorts when she sang that?
Frizzy hair and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Well, she might have been in more than one video or something like that. But I mean, to think that Kylie Minogue is 49, she still looks.
I remember the one she did with Robbie Williams when she was in the hot tub. Do you remember that one?
No, in a hot tub.
Yeah.
No, I didn't remember.
Song called Kids, I think it was.
Hey, come on, this is a family show. We don't be talking about people getting into hot tubs and all that kind of
stuff.
stuff.
What's wrong with getting into a hot tub?
But that wasn't my. What was your favourite Kylie Minogue record?
I didn't have any. I don't like Kylie Minogue.
Oh right, okay. Yeah,
no, you forget that I actually like real music. We're going to be talking to Steve Lillywhite coming up later on, who's the guy that's produced the Dave Matthews Band.
That's
the
right.
guy that's produced U2, the Psychedelic Furs.
Yes.
He's produced the most amazing music, right?
He's
you talk to me about Kylie Minogue.
Hey?
Give me a break.
Yeah.
She's a pop star.
Hey, I bet you what? I bet you Steve Lillywhite.
Have you got her greatest hits? I bet you have.
I bet you. No, I haven't. I bet you Steve Lillywhite would say every artist has their own individual contribution to make to the music world.
Well, he might say that
for sure.
He might say that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't actually have a favourite Kylie Minogue song.
Yes.
But do you? I mean, you like the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah.
You like Kylie Minogue.
No.
I'm starting to get a bit worried about you.
How many songs did Kylie Minogue sing? Now, you should be so lucky. But what was the other one? Everybody know another Kylie Minogue song? I'm looking out there now and trying.
Well, there's loads of Kylie Minogue songs.
Right, Spinning Around. Yeah,
Spinning Around.
Yeah.
You're not much of a fan of her, really, are you?
No, I'm not much of a fan of her. But anyway, look, that's irrelevant.
Anyway, listen, Henry Winston was here a moment ago from the Times, right? And you were professing your fantastic love for Gary Lineker, right?
Absolutely.
Not everybody agrees with you, right? Who do you think said this?
Go on, let me know.
I don't like Lineker as a person. In company, he sneers at you, blanks you. But he wore an Everton shirt. Who do you think said that?
Well, some mealy-mouthed individual, I can tell you, because that's a completely wrong interpretation of the way Gary Lineker is.
Is that right?
He can be a private man in company. I've met him, I know him, and it's not a problem.
You know him?
Yeah.
Good friend of yours, is he?
Well, I would say that we have an understanding,
really?
A collegiate, because he was an Evertonian.
He does occasionally answer the barbed comments you fire at him on Twitter, doesn't he?
And we're in the same profession, broadcasting.
Would it surprise you to know that you actually wrote that on a tweet?
Don't be ridiculous.
17th of February 2012.
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
You got mad.
Somebody has tweeted it out.
What?
And it is written in stone, right? Once you put something out there on social media, even if you think you've deleted it, it hasn't been deleted. So let me just read it again.
What?
I agree with you. I don't like Lineker as a person. In company, he sneers at you, blanks you, but he wore Everton's shirt.
Don't be ridiculous. Have you ever heard of fake news?
Yes, I have.
Get rid of the fake
I know you
news.
are the Donald Trump of talkSPORT. By the way, did you see the way he pushed that guy out of the way, the Prime Minister of Montenegro?
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant.
Every time I see Donald Trump,
who the president
every time I see Donald Trump and listen to him, all I can think of is you.
Why?
It's all because you are him. You know,
that's so
every
kind.
single thing that he says is all about him. Right? Every single situation that he finds himself in, he turns to his own advantage. He puts himself front and centre of every conversation. And that's exactly what you would have done if you were at the NATO meeting.
I think
you would have pushed the leader of Montenegro out of the way.
I think that's
on
outrageous.
the grounds that you had a better car than him.
I think it's outrageous. Listen, it could be an historical day today, couldn't it, for many, many reasons.
Some people would call it historic, as opposed to historical. Historic.
Why do you pick me up on mere trifling things like that?
Because children listen to this show, right?
Do they?
Sometimes my own children listen to it, even though I tell them not to.
Sorry, these are the children you didn't send to America?
I didn't send anybody to America.
Oh, right, OK, sorry.
Some of my children listen to this programme, and they like listening to the show, and they like to learn from it, right? So what I always say to them is, don't listen to Mike Parry's grammar, because he sometimes gets things wrong.
Now, let me tell you about this, OK? It could be a seventh heaven for Arsene Wenger today. Now, Arsene Wenger now jointly holds the title of the most successful ever FA Cup final manager, right?
Right.
Now, the guy who had it for years was George Ramsay of Aston Villa.
See, I don't remember George Ramsay.
Well, you see, you wouldn't. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Remember when Arsenal won the double in 1971, they were the first team to win it in that century.
I remember that was Charlie Georgia, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Who could forget? I mean, that goal and that goal celebration.
And then he fell back on
in the sunshine.
Yes, that's right.
Is emblazoned on my memory.
I was pretty delighted that Liverpool were the team on the receiving end of it. Not that I dislike Liverpool,
Not
of course, but
no.
you know, we have a rivalry. But anyway, the thing is, so in 1971, Arsenal won the double. And people said the first in the 20th century, because a lot of records were established when there were only about 6 or 8 teams going in the 19th century. And one of them was Preston North End, who were the original winners of the double, right? So this is the point you've just made is valid. George Ramsay of Aston Villa won the FA Cup in 1887, 1895, 1897, 1905, 1913 and 1920.
Right.
So it's wrong that Aston Villa's manager holds the record for winning most FA Cups, because since 1920... They haven't, have they? In the 50s, no. Manchester United. They beat Manchester United.
Won it once or twice.
They beat Manchester United. But
I
anyway.
mean, this is the great argument that's often had, and we have it on talkSPORT an awful lot about big clubs versus small clubs.
Sure.
Is heritage more important? Is the club's kind of history more important than the modern day version of football? And I mean, it's all very well to say if you're an Aston Villa fan, we belong in the top flight, which they probably do.
Well, they're a big club.
Because you know they played in Europe.
I'm not knocking Villa.
They've
won
a European
club.
tournaments and all the rest of it. But when you're going back to sort of you're talking 2 centuries ago.
You are 2 centuries ago.
You know, sorry.
So let's compare that to Arsene Wenger's record, okay? So their last one was with George Ramsay. It was 1920.
Yeah.
Arsene Wenger's first one with Arsenal was 1998.
Right.
And since then, 2002, 2003, 2005, 2014, 2015.
I mean,
so that is a modern day record, you know.
And also, you'd have to say Arsene Wenger, for all of his trials and tribulations of recent years, when people have said, you know, the golden first half of his managerial arena with Arsenal was brilliant when he won all those games with one of those Premier Leagues rather with Vieira, and Petit and Thierry Henry and all that.
That's right.
He's become the kind of FA Cup specialist.
That's right.
Jose Mourinho called him a specialist in failure.
Yeah.
I'd say that's wrong. He's the FA Cup specialist now.
Well, he lost one. He lost one of his 7 FA Cup finals, and that was to Liverpool in 2001. I remember being there. It was at the first one, I think, at the Millennium, and Michael Owen scored. I think Arsenal went 1 up, and Michael Owen scored 2, and it was the season. Liverpool won 3 trophies, wasn't it? They won the UEFA Cup, the FA Cup and the League Cup, I think.
That's right.
And that's the only one he's lost. In those days, Liverpool were managed by Gérard Houllier.
Yeah.
And he's the only other French boss to win the FA Cup.
Is that right?
If you see what I mean. Yeah.
Well, I suppose we haven't had too many French managers, have we?
Well, the thing is, if you look at overseas managers winning the FA Cup, the country that comes out on top is France. Because Wenger's won 6, and Houlier's won 1, that's 7.
Yeah.
The second is Italy, 4, and they are Vialli with Chelsea, obviously. Ancelotti with Chelsea. Mancini with Manchester City, and Di Matteo in that remarkable season when he won the FA Cup and the Champions League when he was caretaker manager.
What about Scotland? Are they in there? Because Sir Alex Ferguson would have to be quoted, surely. 2. Not that I'm saying they're a foreign country.
No, 2. But between Alex Ferguson and Italy, Holland 3, Ruud Gullit, sexy football, but he won it with Chelsea. Guus Hiddink and Louis van Gaal,
who won it for Manchester United in what people consider to be one of their worst years.
Exactly.
Which I think is a bit unfair, really.
And then 2 Spanish managers have won it. One of them is the former Everton manager, Mr. Martinez, but he won it with Wigan, amazingly. And the other one, of course, is the Spanish waiter.
Mr. Rafa Benitez.
That's right, absolutely.
Some people
right.
call him that. You wouldn't, of course.
No.
You already upset some Spurs fans. Martin says Spurs won the double before Arsenal in 1961, Porky.
Yes, they did. I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, they did. Of course
they did. You can't ignore Spurs.
No.
This is going to be their home stadium.
No, I totally agree, and I'm sorry about that. Spurs won the first one of the 20th century. Arsenal won it 10 years later.
Julia says this. I can't believe, MG, you didn't correct Porky when he's saying you should be so lucky.
Yeah.
It should be I should be so lucky.
Yeah. What do you mean? No, you should be so lucky working with me. That's what he means.
No,
that's
Julia's
why you should
not a man.
singing
Julia's a woman.
Julia's a lovely lady, and she was making the point that your life changed when. Now,
a couple of people are taking an interest in the pictures that have been put out of us working here behind the scenes, right in the Hilton. It's the what's the name of this bar? You don't know. It's the Icons bar.
The mezzanine.
No, it's not. It's called the Icons bar.
The Icon. That's it.
Do you know anything about where we are?
Yeah, no.
We've been here for hours.
I know everything. Don't worry
now, Lorenzo says, "What's that strange amber liquid suspiciously close to MG?" Somebody's suggesting that there's some beer there.
That's the chap on the table next door behind the clock.
Or is it apple juice?
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Now, we're only just about 3 hours away, just a little over 3 hours away from the kickoff, 5:30 kickoff.
Certainly
right here at Wembley, Arsenal against Chelsea. Are Chelsea going to do the double? Is Antonio Conte going to be one of the only the third manager, I think you were going to say to me, that has made a double in his first season in the Premier League?
That's according to my journals of record.
So they could be wrong then?
No, they're not wrong.
Right,
okay.
Now, we're going to talk to a very big Chelsea fan now, but he's not just a Chelsea fan.
Okay,
he happens to be an award-winning record producer.
Oh, really?
He's won a few Grammys.
Oh, right.
You might have heard of him. He is producing U2's latest album.
Yeah, what's his name?
Which comes out a little bit later on. Lily White is his name.
Does he run a store in London? Lily White's, is it?
No, he doesn't run Lily White's.
Okay,
no, his name is Steve Lillywhite.
I know Steve Lillywhite.
He joins us now once again. Steve, very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, you crazy guys. How's everything?
Yeah, very good indeed.
Well, thank you.
Very good indeed. It's starting to warm up a bit here at Wembley. The sun is out. The crowds are beginning to sort of settle around because it's a London final. People are not coming here quite as early as they would if they were coming from other parts of the country. But but you'd love it. A lot of Chelsea shirts being worn, a lot of Arsenal shirts being worn.
It's fantastic.
I mean, it's a great day out, and everyone thinks, of course, Steve, that Chelsea are going to do it. Do you think they are as well?
Oh my God! Well, but that's the trouble. Is that complacency? I have not heard anyone except for Jim White on talkSPORT who doesn't think Chelsea are going to win it. So I think we will, because I think Conte is such a great manager that he is going to never let them get complacent. You know, he's really gonna to keep them on their toes. But, you know, Wenger is a fantastic manager as well. So, you know, it's going to be a very open game. There's no question about that. It's a big pitch, so it should be great.
Now, Steve, you're not on these shores. You're overseas, of course. You're an international record producer. Where will you be watching the game today? Can you give us a bit of the background to the atmosphere that you'll be enjoying?
I shall actually be watching it in my house because it kicks off at 11:30 Indonesia time.
Oh.
But I have this wonderful box that gives me all English television, so I can see as much football as I want. I'm very excited. It's a bit quiet here because Ramadan has just started, so everyone is doing their fasting during the day, and it's a strange thing, but they love it, and it's a whole different way of life. But
will Bono be popping in to join you, perhaps, to watch a bit of the game?
I saw a picture of him with George Bush actually the other day. I don't know whether that was a recent one, but was he hobnobbing with George Bush the other day?
Well, I don't know about that. There was a photograph I saw of him with Mike Pence.
Oh yeah.
That a few people sort of raised their eyebrows about. But no, I think he's on his way to London at the moment.
Oh right. Well, they are working, you know. Porky doesn't quite understand the rock and roll life. He thinks all rock and roll stars spend their entire lives, you know, getting absolutely smashed,
not so.
throwing TVs out windows, you know, because he's stuck in the 70s. You know
Steve,
what I mean?
I saw the review of their first show of their new tour, and as usual, it was 5 stars out of 5 and brilliant. And you know, I don't want to sound as though that I'm being complacent here, but a lot of that's down to you, Steve. You are one of the world's greatest record producers, and so you know, I just want our millions of listeners to know that I'm on your side, okay?
Yeah, he's looking for another freebie, Steve.
Oh, well, if there's a free ticket around for a U2 concert or anything, sure.
Unbelievable.
Now, there you go. We'll see what we can do.
Let's talk about Chelsea's season, though, because, of course, we were saying earlier, Porky's journals tell us that I think only Kenny Dalglish and Carlo Ancelotti, when he was at Chelsea, have won the double in their first year as a manager. I mean, it'll be quite an extraordinary thing if he manages to do that.
Well, it would be really, wouldn't it? I mean, personally, I think he has done such an incredible job already. You know, when you look at Mourinho, whose first year is always supposedly his best year. Yeah. When you look at Guardiola, who has always won everything he's ever done, and Klopp, who should have found his feet by his second or third year, whenever that is. You know, Conte has come in and just done a fantastic job, and he really had the balls to change it around when it wasn't working. That's what makes a great manager, to take the chance and have the power of his convictions. I think and he doesn't get involved in this stupid specialist in failure type.
Sure.
You know,
Sure. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Steve, can I ask you this? Because you deal in a business where rewards for success run into hundreds of millions. There's a story on the back pages of the English newspapers today that Mr. Conte's been offered a new contract which will pay him £9.5 million a year. Now, we were all young football fans once, paying our £5 bob going through the turnstiles. What do you think about that sort of sum of money to pay a man each year for the job he does?
Well, it's, you are the biggest capitalist I know, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, well, and it's all...
and it's all down to market prices.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
Guardiola earns $13 million a year.
Yeah.
You know, so...
It's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary, but that's the world we live in. It's, and there's a hand... There are 18 managers in the Premier League, and only 6 of them are really 6 or 7, Mike. 7,
yes, thank you. Thank you. I thought you'd get down to 7. Thank you. Yeah.
We'll just about take it down to 7.
Yeah.
And 7 of them, have such high pressure on their jobs. Well, everyone does. It's not a job; it's a vocation. You never have any time off.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I hate that expression, but it really is what it is. And they get paid market value.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely right. Rather like Porky and I get paid market value mostly for the incredible job that we do. But
I should get paid more than you.
You should get paid more than me. You think that? He does think that. It's tricky. It's like Simon and Garfunkel. We hate each other. But let me ask you about Benny King, because you might have heard last week we were talking about the Drifters, right? And a couple of people on Twitter have expressed astonishment that I said I thought John Lennon's version of Stand By Me was the best version out there. A lot of people said I was absolutely staring mad.
No, I think
and that Benny King's version, by far and away, the original is best. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I think you're right. I think John Lennon's version of that song is really great. There are a few songs, you know, that are so much better with their cover versions than the original. Yeah. I always like to think, and you Mr. Parry, you say the Beatles, and I agree with you, are the greatest band.
Yes.
But when you listen to With a Little Help from My Friends on Sgt. Pepper, and then you listen to Joe Cocker's version, Joe Cocker's version is so much better.
No
it
way.
Really makes
no way, Jose.
You're disagreeing now with a guy who's won Grammys.
I'm disagreeing with a man who's, you know, helped create one of the greatest bands in the history of music. I totally agree. But Joe Cocker's version live at Woodstock was a load of rubbish, wasn't it?
No.
Yes, but look, it still wasn't that bad. But look, you listen to the lyrics, how Joe Cocker sings that song, and it really makes the lyrics connect.
Yes.
When you listen to Ringo Starr sing it...
Yeah, no, I understand that. You know, I understand what you're saying, Steve. The timing of the way he introduced the next stanza and the next line, and I do understand all that, but I still... look, I prefer a Beatles original.
Now, just to get serious for a moment, Steve, we haven't got a great deal more time. Terrible events here in Manchester, of course, on Monday night. I mean, our hearts have all gone out to what happened to the victims, to their families, to the people who are still going to be struggling with injuries even now and for years to come. But I mean, from the music business's point of view, this attack on Ariana Grande's concerts, I mean, has it kind of shaken a few people up? Is there going to be, you know, problems for music? I mean, obviously we knew what happened at the Bataclan in France, you know, a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
May have had a similar effect. But this woman is a massive star, and you wonder whether big stars like U2, like the Rolling Stones, when they go out there, like Take That, I mean, are they going to have to take more precautions, you know?
Well, I think it's not just an attack on one concert. It's an attack on our lifestyle. It's an attack on all things we hold dear, which is art. And you know, when you attack art, you're attacking civilization. And these people have no interest in art. For them, you know, it's very, very bad. But look, it's happened before. It will probably happen again.
Yes.
I know from my experience with U2, they will go more into this. They will be doing their thing. Nothing will stop them from taking the message of peace. You know, and keeping what we hold dear in our culture.
Sure.
Exactly right.
I totally agree,
Steve.
Steve,
enjoy the game tonight, and we'll talk to you, I'm sure, soon enough. And I don't need to ask you for a prediction for the result, but what about a prediction for the score?
The score, I think, 3-1 Chelsea.
We're back live. We are, of course, here at Wembley. We're actually just opposite Wembley. We can see the Wembley Arch. Lots going on. Mike Parry is here. I'm Mike Graham. We are joined by two very, very glamorous-looking people, Mr. Parry. I have to say, the most glamorous people we've seen.
I'll tell you what.
Well, more glamorous than you. I mean, what on earth are you wearing?
Glamorous in your company.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to introduce Crystal.
Crystal.
Hi.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
And
your boyfriend,
Shane.
Why have you forgotten Shane's name?
I didn't forget Shane's name. Oh, I'm sorry. I've just been corrected. Husband. Husband just pointed the ring out to me. Now,
normally
Shane,
he spots the ring first, actually, because normally he's only interested in women who are married on the basis that he's not interested in commitment of any kind.
Absolutely disgraceful.
That's not disgraceful.
Now, Shane, you are a seasoned football fan, but tell me about Crystal's appearance here today at the Cup final, please.
It's the first game.
First game.
Really?
Crystal, for goodness.
It's not bad, is it?
First ever game?
Yep.
Really?
How long have you been married?
Yeah.
At Chelsea.
Nearly 2 years next month.
Wow, so for 2 years you've been married, presumably you were together before that. You never went to a Chelsea game before?
No.
Really?
That's amazing.
Well, I have to say, Shane is some sort of husband. The first game he takes you to, gets you to come to, is a Wembley FA Cup final.
I know.
Now, just tell me, as not a seasoned football fan, what do you think about the whole bigness of it, the atmosphere and all that? Really?
Absolutely amazing. Can't wait.
What are you thinking at the moment about what's going to happen today?
She's probably thinking at the moment, who's this idiot talking to me? Why is he asking me these ridiculous questions?
can hear you a lot in the car.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you approve of what we do?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Okay.
Why are you looking for approval?
No, well,
Why?
I do seek approval.
Yeah.
Now, Shane, you are a seasoned Chelsea fan. So, tell me this. What's going to happen today?
3-1.
3-1 to Chelsea.
See, I'm hearing 3-1 a lot.
Yeah, I have as well, yeah.
I'm hearing 3-1 a lot.
Right, so we've got the football out of the way. Now, tell me, how did you sign the deal and get your wife here to a game for the first time in 2 years?
Well, actually, my friends, they're season ticket holders. So I go to a lot of away games.
Right.
But every now and then I probably get 5 home games a season.
Yes.
They're in Lanzarote.
Right.
So I couldn't go. Usually I go to a game with one of them.
I see.
But they're both away on a family holiday.
So you've nicked the 2 tickets.
Absolutely.
And you've got the tokens for the cup final ticket.
Yes.
Wow.
So are you guys not from London? You sound
No,
like you're not from London.
we set off at 10:30 this morning.
Where from?
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
So
See, he hates Lincoln.
No, I don't.
Yes, you
dear,
do.
I don't.
You said that nobody ever goes to Lincoln.
I said
and you
that
also
nobody
said
goes.
that the spire of the church is crooked. You
No,
did.
no, that's in Chesterfield,
No,
you idiot.
no, you said Lincoln
Cathedral is beautiful, is it not,
It
Crystal?
is, yeah.
It not? And Lincoln's a beautiful part of the world as well.
Why do you keep touching Crystal?
I don't.
Stop touching her.
No, I put a reassuring arm on the shoulder. That's my way of calming people down, you know what I mean?
Is that right?
But, Crystal, can I tell you this? OK, so it's your first game for 2 years, but presumably Shane has got the telly on 24/7 watching football at home. How does that sort of link into your life?
That's fine. I have my Kindle and I read while he watches the football.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, got a little deal.
And what happens when he leaps out of his seat and, you know, he's punching the air and all that? Do you
Used to
react?
it.
You're used to it, OK.
And was he terribly depressed last year when Chelsea were doing
Yeah.
badly?
Yeah.
So you must be, everything must be going better this year because
Yeah.
obviously, they're about to win the double. They won they got a new manager.
Yeah.
It's interesting how people's lives get sort of, driven by how their football team is doing.
I totally agree. And
I mean, he's always depressed because Everton is so bad. And I have to, he's always grumpy. He comes in every night to do the
Thanks,
show,
Lukaku.
but he's always grumpy.
But the thing is, Shane, domestic life can be dictated by football, can't it? So, for instance, what I'm saying to you is this. Just shut up. What I'm saying is this. On a Sunday, is your Sunday roast literally dictated by what time Chelsea kick off?
Yes.
Right. So, do you do it early if it's 4 o'clock, or do you do it at 7 o'clock?
Yeah. But he
I
cooks
cook
it.
it.
Yeah, you cook it.
Oh, you cook it. Oh, I see. You're cooking all the roasts, are you? That's great, yeah. And what about for instance, the lunchtime game, the 1:30 game? What happens then?
We either go out to the local 12 o'clock table.
Really?
And we're back.
Oh, that's great.
And what about today? Have you taken the chance to stay the night in London, or are you going to
You're
go?
staying
here,
here.
yeah.
Oh, you're staying here.
At the Wembley Hilton.
The Wembley Hilton. What's the
That's
name of the bar again?
This is the Icon Bar.
Well done. The
Thank you,
Icons bar.
thank you. See, I know all these things.
So
Yeah,
your short-term memory's not completely shot then.
That's great. Do you feel privileged people because you don't have to do this, i.e., Wembley Park Tube Station and all that every day, and you live in beautiful Lincolnshire? Do you feel better about that, Crystal?
It's touched her again.
We like.
No, I didn't that
stop
time.
touching
No,
it.
that time I didn't. I just waved my arm in her direction. Do you like living in Lincolnshire?
Yes.
What's
love
good
it.
about Lincolnshire? Apart from the sausages,
Countryside.
they've got great sausages, haven't they?
Yeah,
in
they
Lincolnshire?
have.
Well,
but
yeah.
no, we've got dogs, so countryside, walking the dogs.
Yeah.
We love, don't we?
Great, OK.
I've got a dog.
Now that you're here...
I've got a Labrador.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, what have you got?
We've got 2 cockapoos. And I'm
what?
a dog groomer.
2 cockapoos.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what a cockapoo is.
Well, I think they're a posh dog. They're a
Cocker
posh
Spaniel,
dog.
Is that like a sort of, like one of those little puggy type dogs?
Like a
No,
Shih Tzu
they're-
something,
no,
like...
they're
Not a
big
Shih
fat.
Tzu, no.
No, they're posh dogs, honestly.
Are they?
But, Crystal, what I want to say to you is this. Now that you have Shane's dragged you down and put you right in the middle of
Family show.
of the football mania, the football manicness and all that, do you think you're getting the taste?
Yeah.
You are? Oh! Might be another
Yeah.
season ticket on the cards next season, pal.
Could be.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Could be. Are you from Lincoln or are you from somewhere else?
Yeah, Lincoln.
Oh, you are from Lincoln. So you could support Lincoln City then?
I went to the Arsenal game. I went in the away end to watch Lincoln play Arsenal.
Really?
Just to support, the local
Do you
team.
think
I
also,
see.
no, I mean, we were talking about
Yeah.
this earlier, that the FA Cup's kind of come back to life this
Oh,
year.
amazing,
And
yeah.
Lincoln's part in that
Brilliant.
is amazing.
Of course it is.
Sutton as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you do feel like the FA Cup's now something that people get excited about.
Well, I hope so, yeah. Lincoln, of course, your hometown, is managed by 2 crazy brothers, isn't it?
Well, they're not crazy, are they?
The Cowleys.
Well, I mean, crazy and... Sorry?
The Cowleys.
Thank you,
They're
yeah.
not crazy. No, why are you touching him now?
Well, because I'm just reassuring,
very
patting on the
tactile.
shoulder. Yeah,
It's one of the things that annoys me the most about him.
yeah, well, you see, you're untactile.
Yeah, I like to touch people I want to touch. I don't want to be touched by people who I haven't invited to touch me.
Touch
Simple.
me in the morning.
Yeah, Porky's Diana
anyway,
Ross.
listen, kids, what I want to say is,
Kids.
Crystal, it's a fantastic day for you, and thank you for joining us here on talkSPORT, because it literally is your debut in the football world. But from what you've
Literally.
told us, it's not going to be your first and last day, is it?
No.
No, there you go.
And thank you so much for braving the quiz questioning by Porky. You never know what he's going to ask you, basically.
You know,
do you want to give us a quick prediction before we let you go?
Yeah. He said 3-1.
Yeah. What about Crystal?
I actually think 3-2.
Okay.
3-2.
Crystal,
To Chelsea.
if you have to base it on what you've seen so far, who is the key Chelsea player? Who's the one that you really rate? She's looking at her husband now. Sorry.
Go on, embarrass yourself. Say
That's all right.
They don't play anymore.
People's names are wrong all the time.
She likes Lampard, but obviously he's
Frank
gone
Lampard was
Frankie
a player, but he's
Well, he'll be here today, won't he?
Yeah,
He's about to be here.
I'm sure he will be. Frankie Lampard's a lovely man, you know. Frankie, super Frank, super Frank. That's what he used to say, man.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Is that right, Shane?
Little different to that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, listen, thank you. Have a great day. Have a great evening as well.
Yeah.
I would suggest.
Where are you going for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Should take you somewhere good for dinner, Crystal.
Yeah, you've got to head into town for dinner.
Yeah.
You don't have dinner around Wembley. It's not nice.
No.
You head into town.
By the way, this is quite nice now. It used to
We
be
still
a
get
pit.
to Sky Bar.
Oh, the Sky Bar's beautiful up here. Ninth floor.
I didn't know
Ninth
you'd
floor of
been
the
there.
Wembley Hilton.
When were you there?
I have visited occasion.
Have you? You spent the night here?
I can't.
Who's the lucky girl?
I can't comment on that. I'm afraid.
Some people might think that's the song from that male strippers movie. Do you remember?
Was it the Full Monty?
The Full Monty.
Is that the one?
Yeah, but
I've never seen it.
You've never seen the Full Monty?
I will not go and watch a
Why
film
not?
where men just collectively take their clothes
Why
off
not?
because it doesn't interest me.
Well, you don't see anything.
Okay.
I mean, it's all very
I don't
best
know.
possible taste.
It's a family show, please.
Okay.
Family show.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
that's not from the Full Monty. It's an adaptation for the
I see.
Arsenal FA Cup song.
Oh, right,
From a
okay.
few years ago. I think it was 1998. I think I'm right in saying.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, that's
here we
slightly
go.
less imaginative, isn't it?
No, but that was my favourite FA Cup song.
Well, who was that for?
Well, Everton, of course, when
Oh,
we
right.
got there in '85 and '86.
Oh, right.
We're the best.
It's not
of
very
the
interesting,
team,
that, is
we
it?
all know. We're the team. We're the dream.
We don't really
number
want. No, we don't really want the
one.
Everton song.
And we love you.
No,
Well, I agree.
we don't
Everton
really want
not
the
playing
Everton
today,
song.
I
Now, after
suppose.
this game, right?
Yeah.
How many people will be going up? So late kickoff, 5:30.
Sure.
So whoever is the victor, lots of people
Yes.
think it's going to be Chelsea.
Yes.
You know, it's going to be 8, 9, 10 o'clock before people get home.
That's right.
You know, there will be other people, I guess, out there listening because it's one of the hottest days of the year.
Sure.
Will be out there with the old barbecues.
They
right?
will. They certainly
and
will.
they will be, in fact.
Yeah.
Putting the TV outside, possibly.
Well, you know, there's a new craze now. I mean, I suppose you've got a barbecue in your back garden, have you?
I certainly have. In fact, not only have I got a barbecue, but we had a barbecue last night. Not only
really?
did I have a barbecue, but there was a bit of a cookout situation where the kids stayed out in a tent all night.
Yeah.
You're not listening to me, are you?
I am.
The kids had a camp out. They camped in a tent. They slept in a tent all night.
Really?
Right. And we had.
Well, you're a responsible father.
we
Your
roasted-
children sleep out in the open last night in the countryside.
Not in the countryside, in my garden.
Yeah.
You plank, right? Which is about 10 feet from my door.
Supposing a crazed...
You've been to my house down there, right? It's plenty of room.
Supposing a crazed rabid fox had got into their tent.
Well, I guess I wouldn't have any younger children, would I?
No, exactly.
Crazed rabid foxes, by the way, are frightened of human beings.
Are they?
Foxes do not attack
Not when they're
humans.
asleep and they're little like your boys.
They're not little.
What sort of a
My
father
two sons
are
are about the same size as you.
I'm not going to respond to that. Now then, what I was going to say
12-year-old's taller than you,
you
actually.
are well aligned, mate, if all you've got in your garden is a barbecue.
Is that right?
Because what you've got to have these days is you've got to have a pizza oven.
Really?
It's a new craze. Now, I'm actually thinking, believe it or not, of getting one for my roof garden.
You haven't got space on your roof garden.
I have. I've got plenty of space.
Well, it would save you ordering all that stuff from Domino's, wouldn't it?
A barbecue,
buy one, get one free.
Excuse me. A barbecue is like too big and too full of coal and all that. But the new one,
The barbecue is full of coal.
In fact, I've
Actually,
decided.
some people have gas barbecues,
I've decided,
which are not full of coal.
I've decided.
Are you listening to anything I'm saying?
I've decided.
It's not a one-man show.
I'm listening to everything you're saying. I've decided in the blink of an eye, I am definitely going to get a pizza oven for my roof garden.
Hang on. If you get a pizza oven, don't you then have to make the pizza?
No. It's an outside
it doesn't
pizza
come
oven.
with pizza in it.
What?
It doesn't come with pizza in it.
No, I know that. But
Well, you've got to make the pizza to put in it.
Yeah,
But you can't make anything.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't.
I can roll a bit of dough. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's easy.
I can see you buying, the wrong kind of dough.
Yeah.
Right, and all blowing up inside the pizza oven.
Anyway, look, I've had a look at my journals.
Yeah.
Right, you can get the Uni 3-wood fired pizza oven with baking stone just £199.99.
Yeah, but you've got to put a baked pizza in there that you're cooking, not one that's already made.
Here, I'm going to get the top one, you see. I like the Rock Box.
Rock Box. I think you've mentioned this before, haven't you?
The Rock Box pizza
du Rock
makes a wood-fired pizza at home seem like nothing. A little maintenance. OK? Here.
This is the worst idea you've ever had.
I don't think it is.
If you get one of those, I guarantee not only will you set fire to the pizza, you'll set fire to your entire apartment.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, never mind that, because now it's time for this. Of course, the warm-up normally is a little bit earlier than this, right? So normally we're actually out of here by now. However, we are doing a special FA Cup warm-up, and we are at Wembley. We are just about to launch ourselves into the 1 minute moan. That's what that music's about. It is currently 15-7 to me.
Right.
You're being absolutely slaughtered.
Oh, yeah?
You know, if BetSafe were running a book on this, you would probably find yourself very, very long odds of winning this at all.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but because of my generosity of spirit, I'm going to let you go first.
No, I'll let you go first.
No,
I want you to go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Is that because you haven't got one?
I've got one, mate, but I'm going to slam you after yours, right?
You're going to slam me?
Yeah.
OK, well, it's up to you then to start the 1 minute moan clock.
OK, we are listening, Mr. Producer. I'll give you a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go!
My 1 minute moan is about the bank holiday weekend because, of course, as you know, it is a bank holiday weekend. We've got the second bank holiday in May, which kicks off on Monday. So loads of people are not going to work. And what does that mean? Most people on a Friday decide that they're going to finish work early and they're going to go off on holiday somewhere. Very hot weather, they're going to head to the coast, or they're going to head to somewhere like Legoland, or they're going to head to somewhere like possibly another country. They're going to get on a plane. But guess what? Down at Gatwick Airport, you can't get your bag on a plane. So you're going to lose your bag, or you're not going to have a bag when you arrive at your destination where you've gone for only 2 days. And by the time your bag catches up with you, you've already come back. British Airways, it turns out, and I blame you for this, have completely lost their computer system. They've got some kind of glitch going on, which means that you can't check in online at all. People are missing their flights all over the place. And then, to make matters worse, we have got roadworks. You know, all around where I live in Sussex, they have closed off every single exit route so that you can't actually get out of the place. I don't know what it is about Britain and bank holidays, but when you try and travel around on a bank holiday, thank God that here on the FA Cup final weekend, nobody's trying to get here from anywhere further than basically Islington and Chelsea.
Yeah, that's pathetic.
Not at all.
I mean,
it is, of course, what people care about.
6 or 7 times a year.
It is what people care about.
Utterly pathetic, right.
Right, so have you got one that's not involving Ed Balls, iron ore, your own possible nightmarish situation in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey?
Yes.
Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Start the clock, please, Mr. Invigilator.
Right, I want to have a go at the French, OK? The French are quite nice people. They're quite nice people, except when it comes to making wine, and they've got it all wrong, right? We face a steep rise in the price of wine after 2 exceptionally cold snaps this year have destroyed the vineyards across France. This should never have been allowed to happen. I thought the French were supposed to be the best in the world at making wine.
It's got something to do with the weather, isn't it?
And if they're the best in the world at making wine, why don't they put covers on their vineyards? Why don't they put covers on their vines?
Covers.
We've all seen in this country these pig farms where they have these covers to cover the pigs, you know what I mean, when they get cold. Now, why can't we have covers on the vines, in the vineyards in France? You won't believe it, but French winemakers are in despair. 2 cold periods at the end of April, temperatures fell to -5, and I'm telling you, it's ruined the vineyard crop, and the vineyard crop ruined means that wine is going to go up by about as much as 50 or 60p a bottle. That's the French nation's fault. We shouldn't have to suffer that. I'm telling the French, get your act together.
What, so you can't afford an extra 60 pence on the 25 bottles of wine a week that you drink?
That's irrelevant.
Absolutely unbelievable.
I probably can, but I'm a man of the people. I think about the others. 60p is a glass of wine for some people, you know.
Now, an awful lot of people have got absolutely staggered that that was your 1 minute moan. Porky's wine on wine sounded desperate, says Pete. No. Easy win for old MG.
Oh, rubbish.
Rob says, MP, that was the most derisory, pathetic ramble.
Sorry, it's up on the screen. The winner's up on the screen.
What?
Can we read out the winners, please?
Porky wins the moan. It's the breaking news from the Everton supporting producer of the warm-up. Let me just finish this. Buy some wine from somewhere else, you cheapskate. And Chris says, disgraceful attack on the French. Pure class as usual from MG, focusing focusing on the working man's issues.
Yeah.
Porky and expensive wine, what an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes it is wasted on me, but I'm not a connoisseur.
Fortunately for you, we don't have to talk about this for too much longer.
Move on. Now listen, before we speak to our next guest,
we've got Frank McClintock coming up.
I know, and I just wanted to say
he is a former Arsenal captain. He's a legend of the club.
Hang on, he lifted the cup when they won the double, so Frank is a god around here.
Can we not get him on the radio, please?
We do, but I just wanted to say the Wembley that Frank McClintock won the FA Cup at is not here anymore. The new Wembley's here.
That's true.
But I bet the old Wembley was very, very special to Mr. McClintock.
I'm sure it absolutely was. Frank, a very, very good afternoon to you. I'm terribly sorry to keep you waiting. Mike Parry's a hard man to shut up.
I know, I listen to you regularly. You're terrific, honestly.
Yeah.
I never stop laughing when I'm in the car listening to your programme.
Sorry, Frank, what do you mean laughing?
We are
serious broadcasters.
We are serious broadcasters, it's true, very true.
Yeah.
Listen, Frank, Mike's right. It must have been, I mean, I remember the old Wembley, the Twin Towers and all that. What a fantastic venue, what a fantastic place to go and win at. Tell us about that double win, because we're looking at possibly now Chelsea winning a double. I know that may sound like sort of a terrible thing to say to the former Arsenal captain, but I mean, that year you guys won the double. What a fantastic year that was for you.
Yes, it was. I mean, just the week before we had to go to Tottenham, and who were the last double winners in 1961, and I actually played against them for Leicester City. And then I found myself 1-0 down after the second half. And, you know, things looked as though that was the 5th final I was in, cup final.
Yeah.
And in the previous 4, I'd been beaten in every one of them.
Leicester 63, Frank, yeah?
Pardon?
Leicester 63?
Yes, 61 and 63, yeah. And then with Arsenal as well, I lost 2 with Arsenal prior to it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're there again, we're 1-0 down.
Yeah.
And but thankfully Eddie Kelly scored a bit of a freak goal to make it 1 each.
That's right.
And then Charlie George finished up scoring a fantastic winner to make it 2-1. And they'd won the double, only the second team in 71 years to win the double.
In the 20th century, that's right. One of my iconic images, Frank, of all Wembley FA Cup finals, because I was a kid in those days, is Charlie George lying back on the turf with his arms outstretched after he took a pot shot and beat one of the world's great goalkeepers.
Well, it wasn't a pot shot.
Well, I mean,
one of the greatest goals ever scored in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he still looked up and decided, I'll have a go, didn't he, Frank?
Yeah, Charlie was actually quiet that day, but he had this fantastic shot on him all the time, and he belted one in from about 25 yards, and then he lay on the deck, which absolutely infuriated me, because I was absolutely knackered. That was my 76th consecutive game, and I've played every single minute of every game, and I had to run up 3/4 length of the pitch to say well done to him. It'd been lovely if he'd come running back towards the halfway line.
That puts Jose Mourinho's complaints into perspective, doesn't it, Frank? I mean, when you hear those stories now of these big squads saying they're too tired to play more than 1 game a week, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's exaggerated. I must admit, though, playing the games that I've played, I actually played 3 international matches after that. So in that season, I played 79 consecutive games, but I was completely gone. I really mean that. I wouldn't advise any company to ever try that again, because it is too much. But the amount of games they play today, the pitches they play on, the ball, the boots are lighter, the whole thing, you should be able to do 60-odd games a season standing on your head almost.
Frank, just to compare football today to football in your days, can you remember what your bonus was for the double?
No, I can't actually, but it might have been a couple of £100 or something like that.
£100,
Well, why are you saying that's I mean, in those days, £200 was a lot of money.
Yeah, sure, but in these days it'd be 200,000, wouldn't it? You know,
he spends more than that on his lunch now, Frank.
No, I don't. Anyway, Frank, to bring it right up to modern days, we are looking at the stadium now. It's magnificent. I love the new Wembley. I love the old Wembley. But how do you think the game is going to go today?
Well, it is difficult to say, because Chelsea really are the big favourites today. I've been a bit disappointed with Arsenal's team over the season. I did say to close friends that I thought Arsenal would probably finish 4th or 5th this year. So that's proved the point. I don't think Arsene says that he's got a very strong side. He could win the championship next season. I can't see that at all. And I think the fact is that if we can't keep people like Sanchez in the club, it's going to be difficult to get other good players coming in. But to answer your question, I think it's going to be a tight game. Unfortunately, I'll have to say that I fancy Chelsea to win. I hope that's not the case. I hope Arsenal manage to win, but I fancy Chelsea, really.
I mean, you're right to say that it's been a miserable year for Arsenal fans. It's been a miserable year for everyone associated with Arsenal, in a way. But then nobody expects them to beat Manchester City in the semi-final, Frank, and they somehow pulled it out.
Absolutely.
And they somehow turned it on. I mean, I suppose a lot of fans that we've heard from so far have said they want to see Welbeck in the team starting today. They don't want to see Giroud starting. You know, is that the way you're thinking as well?
Yes, I think he's a really good player, but he could be much better, and I think he will be once he gets rid of these injuries that he's had all season nearly. And Arsenal have been ripped apart by lots of long-term injuries, and I think Welbeck said it in the papers just the other day there that next season he thinks he'll really be flying. He's a good player. He's a decent goal scorer. He's very quick and mobile. And I think that's one of the reasons why it gives us a bit more flexibility. And Sanchez on his day can beat most people. So you're absolutely right. I mean, I do think Chelsea will win it, but it could turn the other way as well, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it does that.
Okay. Now, Frank, I'm not going to ask you the world's most boring question. Do you think Arsene Wenger should stay, or do you think he should go? I'm not going to ask you that question. However...
Well, except it's even more relevant now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. But, however, it is a watershed for Arsenal because they start next season not being in the Champions League.
Yep.
Now, do you mind me saying that I think it would have been better if they'd finished 3 places further down and were not in the UEFA League as well, to give them the sort of open fixture list that Chelsea have enjoyed this season?
Yeah, it would have been very good in one way, as you've just suggested. They're feeling a lot fresher, they've played less games, they're more lively. But at the same time, if they're trying to get new players, which they badly need, I feel anyway, then not being in any kind of European Cup competition might put a lot of players off from coming back to Arsenal. That's why I'm a little bit concerned this time. We're out the top 4. If we don't win the Cup this time, that'll be another added blow, I think, to Arsenal. And really, things could turn quite badly, actually, in the next year or two.
And I mean, talking of Arsenal's managers and what could happen in the future, Frank, I mean, what kind of guy, because we watched Manchester United stagger through a couple of years of misery after Sir Alex Ferguson left and David Gill left as well. I worry that Arsenal will have the same experience because they've been so much more associated with one man in a way than even United were with Sir Alex Ferguson. I mean, who possibly do you think is the type of manager that could come in even after Arsene Wenger and just carry on as if nothing had happened? What sort of calibre of manager are you looking for?
Well, you'd have to go for somebody at the top level, and Atletico Madrid manager, I think would be... Yeah, but I don't think he's so sort of outgoing, running up and down the touchline like Conte does, and I don't know if the Arsenal board would like that type of person in charge of their team. I'm not sure. But I think he would be first class, and I think Juventus manager looks a very good manager as well. I mean, look at Conte, how he's came to Chelsea.
Unbelievable.
And Klopp has done very well with Liverpool without spending a fortune, but he's had a big impact, and I think the top 4 next year will spend very wisely, but they'll get the best players that's available throughout the world, and that will make it even harder for Arsenal Football Club. So I wouldn't mind that Arsenal saying thanks very much, I'm walking away, because I hate to criticise him publicly because he's done such a marvellous job, and you don't always get taken for, you know, that you've said the right thing. I mean that genuinely. He's for 14, 15 years he's been fantastic. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, maybe it's time for him to walk away now and let somebody else have a go at it.
Yeah, OK. Well, Frank, you've been very honest and already said you think Chelsea will win. What do you think the difference between the two teams will be as a score?
I think maybe 2-0 or something like that for Chelsea.
Right. Okay.
Hopefully that's if any Arsenal supporters are listening, that's not what I want it to be. I want it to be 2-0 for us, but in case I get beat up in the pub tonight or something like that.
Jason Cundy standing up.
Yeah, you can.
It's his kind of song.
Yeah, with his hands over his head, with a Chelsea
I have to
scarf,
say, it doesn't inspire
swaying
me.
left and right,
No, I
and
don't
all
like
that kind
it.
of stuff.
I
You know
don't
what
like
I mean?
it's not
By the way,
doing it for
what
me.
was Jason's record with Chelsea like? How many medals did he pick up?
I'm not sure. You'd have to ask him.
How many cups?
But what he did say was that he had a much nicer time at Chelsea than he did at Spurs.
Is that right?
I don't know why you're picking
harsh.
on Jason just because he hit you with a door the other night.
Yeah, nearly broke my arm. No, I'm not picking on him.
Sadly,
he's a top boy.
Now, a couple of interesting tweets to read out to you, right? One from Mr. Mouth, who says, any chance of a video of the interview with Crystal and Shane? It sounds like creepy Porky at his best.
Oh, that's
Mr. Tactile.
That's very harsh. All I do is just put people at rest, you know. I like him. And what's the other one?
And Stephen says, interesting conversation with Crystal, but please let guests develop the conversation before asking another question, Porky.
Yeah, well, I have to stimulate people. By the way, that song we've just heard, right, that's Chelsea's new anthem, Artie's Army.
Yeah.
And guess what? Written and co-produced by Roger Taylor, who is,
of course, in Queen, isn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
He's gone on wrong of his old mate Brian May, one of the world's greatest guitarists and songwriters, who features on the tracks. That's not bad, is it?
That's not bad at all. Why didn't you get him on the show?
That's almost a Why
didn't you get him on the show?
Well, I can't tell you too much about it, but Brian and I
it's
and
a
you
massive, epic fail.
Maybe talking soon.
Okay, all right, we'll see what we can do. As I was saying to you earlier, Porky, the place is beginning to fill up.
Oh, it's buzzing.
Tell us what you can see, because you're very good at painting pictures with words.
I like looking at the corporate, because
do
you know what I say? I say that if the corporate side of football is booming, then the economy of Britain is booming.
Is that
okay?
what you're saying?
To me, it's one of those things like taxi drivers. If they're recording record fares, it's booming. Hairdressers, believe it or not, if they're booming, the economy's booming.
Is that right?
And I believe that
is this the Porky economic basket of currencies?
Yes. And I believe that if the good people, if the great people are inside that Wembley Stadium, we can see them from here. We can literally see through the window of Wembley Stadium.
Literally see through the window.
All these great people dining in Club Wembley and all those really expensive places.
The rich people.
I think it says that we're on the up.
Yeah, what about down there where all the fans are?
That's the Arsenal fan zone.
That's where what you would call the great unwashed are.
No, not at all.
That's where they are.
No, that's...
They're next to the library.
No.
They're not making much noise.
No. I mean, that's more average, I would say. It's more average, but...
Don't be harsh on them.
No, I'm not being harsh. Average people are good people.
Are they?
And there's more average people around than good people, and so, therefore, they are the mainstay of our society.
But they're not good.
Yeah, they are good. Yeah, they're good. But they're good at a different
or
level.
average.
No, it's a bit like George Orwell's novel, isn't it?
Is it?
All pigs are equal, but some pigs are more equal than others.
Porky speaks the truth. Star Sixers is reuniting some of football's great names in London this summer. You can catch the fast-paced six-a-side action at the O2 from the 13th to the 16th of July as huge stars compete in a Legends World Cup with 12 nations battling it out. England are reuniting the golden generation with Gerrard, Ferdinand, Owen, James, Neville and Heskey lining up to the Three Lions.
Absolutely right. Crikey, what a... I'm sorry. I'm awfully sorry there. Right,
what's going on with your microphone?
I'm sorry, just a bit.
I've been here all day.
What I'm saying, what a collection of stars there. Now then, tickets...
Idiots.
Tickets which start at £30 for adults and £10 for under-16s are on sale now at www.starsixes.com. Head to talksport.com/win now for your chance to win 4 VIP hospitality tickets to Star Sixes and a Star Sixes football signed by the England team.
It's tremendous stuff. Now, hard to believe, Porky, that our show is nearly over.
It certainly is, yeah.
We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left.
Yeah.
Here we are in the name of the bar. Do you remember the name of the bar?
The Icon.
The Icons Bar.
The Icons.
Here at the Hilton at Wembley. Funnily enough, we were in this very same bar, the League Cup final, between Manchester United and Southampton.
That's right.
And it was far busier. And I think that's not because there's less people at this one, but I think it's a security thing perhaps, and fewer people being allowed into the hotel.
2 observations. The Manchester United team stayed here.
That's right.
And so, like in Canary Wharf in London, for those who live outside of London, Canary Wharf is like a sort of, it's a sort of second city of London.
It sort of is. It's kind of where the headquarters of the financial business are.
That's right. And lots of sort of smoothies live there in their sort of glass palaces and all that kind of stuff.
I live right opposite it,
You live right opposite it. And there's a couple of hotels there, one of them being the Marriott, and Mr. Brazil lives around that area. And
why are you giving away where he lives?
Around that area, right? And what happens is quite often a team arrives to play a game in London and the coach arrives and they all get off and all that kind of stuff. And what happens is fans come down. They don't expect to be able to see the team. They don't expect to be able to talk, something like that. That's all gone years and years ago. But they do like saying, oh, you know, I was in the same hotel as the team and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that because we have 2 London teams playing today, nobody's come down last night really and stayed overnight. Nobody's sort of had to make their base here. They've come from their homes. And it's great to see, you know, a cup final today between 2 sets of fans who almost certainly live 10 miles apart.
And I mean, you having been to 27 cup finals, as you said you have been, there is something special, I think, about an all-London cup final. And I know that you'll say to me, oh, we were just biased because you're from London. Yeah. But there is something special about it.
I totally agree. Funny enough, I remember when Spurs played...
well, there was Spurs-Chelsea not that long ago, wasn't it?
No, hang on. In 1966, Everton played Australia.
I'm talking about in the memories of most people who are not ancient.
I'm trying to tell you this. In 1967, Spurs played Chelsea. Bobby Tamling was playing for Chelsea.
Spurs Chelsea have had a more recent encounter than that.
Hang on, you've asked me about a London Cup final. It was the first London Cup final since the Second World War.
Yeah, I know,
that's the point I'm making.
I'd rather talk about one that was a bit more recent.
No, but you've just talked about an all-London Cup final. It was the first London Cup final since the Second World War, and do you know what? The Queen even had to apply for her tickets.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
That's rubbish.
No, on that occasion.
What, you think the Queen actually wrote off to the FA?
No.
Dear Mr. Parry.
No.
In your capacity as
her
the
staff,
chief door opener for the Football Association,
the Football Association
giving a ticket for myself and Phil the Greek.
The Football Association said because they were being barracked by, the 2 teams competing in a 100,000-seater stadium were only getting 27,000 tickets each, and this huge campaign started, this fan campaign, saying, well, that's all very well, but the Queen is not a fan of either teams. Yeah. Why is she going? And believe it or not, the FA, on a PR exercise, said, well, the Queen and Buckingham Palace will apply for their tickets in the same way as anybody else, and naturally it will be granted. But she had to apply for the tickets.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like an absolute load of old cobblers to me, that story.
Why
would
you say that? Because you don't know anything.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You don't know anything.
Well, it might well be true.
When was the last cup final? What was your last cup final?
The bottom line about the story is they may have put it out as propaganda that people like you swallow because you believe everything that comes out of the royal family, right? But what I'm saying is the Queen would have not had to worry that she wasn't going to get a ticket.
Well, she didn't individually, of course, but the operation around her actually had to say, could we please apply...
Are you telling me that in those days the Queen used to give the cup out then? Because she hasn't done it for many a year, has she? Normally it's one of the other royal members of the royal family.
The biggest laugh was when Prince Charles was given the cup out, right? And this was I think this was the 95 cup final, Everton and Manchester United.
Yes.
And he was so bored during the game, he kind of sort of nodded off, So he didn't realise...
It's not really his game, is it?
No. He did, honestly, it's a great story. He didn't realise, because he's not a football fan, that the losers come up first.
Right.
So when somebody nudged him, and he said, and the captain of Manchester United standing in front of him, Brian Robson, and he tried to give him... Sorry, we were living in 95. It might have been Robson.
But it would have been Steve Bruce, maybe.
Steve Bruce.
Might have been Steve
You're
Bruce.
absolutely right. It would have been Steve Bruce. That's right. And of course, Steve does say, no, I'm very sorry.
Terribly sorry, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
That's actually a great thing. Because we are doing a big thing in June. We're going to be doing all the mid-morning shows in June.
We certainly
want to tell people that because some people think that the football season is going to be over. What are we going to do now?
It's not.
Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do now.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to the 2 mics throughout the whole month of June.
Absolutely.
Right? And what I'm looking forward to intensely after Henry Winter's appearance with us today is that Henry Winter has promised me, and you'll have you quaking your boots now, he's promised me to come in to the show and give us full chapter and verse of your time at the FA.
My famous
He's going to talk us through the Paul Merson saga, Eric Cantona, Bruce Grobbelaar, the Money in the Bag, George
Terry
Graham,
Venables,
Terry Venables, every single scandal that you were supposed to be handling, that you were supposed to be keeping close to your chest.
And how
he's going to talk about the night he rang you at about 9 o'clock at night, and as he describes it, you were at obviously the wrong end of a bottle of Pinot Grigio.
That's a bit harsh, that, isn't it?
Where
really
you said, we're not going to give this away, where you said, don't worry, the FA are going to throw the entire telephone book at this guy. We won't say who it was.
Do you know,
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready any time to talk to Henry Winter, and Henry is a decent chap, and I have no doubt whatsoever.
He's going to open Pandora's box here on talkSPORT.
No,
I can't wait.
Henry knows which side of his toast is buttered.
He knows which side of his toast is buttered.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Well, let's see. Yes. We shall see. Right now, we're looking out at a very, very beautiful vista here. The fans are all arriving.
Yep.
You know what I also love, and I have to be very old-fashioned about this?
Yep.
Team playing in red against a team playing in blue.
I do as well.
So the way it should be.
It's blue football. It is blue football. It's blue football.
Yeah.
Do you ever play blue football?
Sabutio
Well,
football.
no, not Sabutio. The blow football.
I did a bit of that,
where you blow down a pipe and you blow the ball to one another. That's much better than Sabutio.
Yeah, but you told me we're not allowed to have straws anymore,
no,
so we can't play that anymore. How do you play blow football without straw?
Sabutio, to me, was great only for the intricate colours of the little players.
Yeah.
But flicking all this around on your fingers...
Yeah, but you see, you're not very dexterous.
No,
You've got fat little fingers. You're not very dexterous.
I agree. That's why
I actually perfected the curve of the Sabutio player, where you flick it on the right-hand side and he curves all the way around.
Come off it.
In a crescent shape and gets the ball.
Come off it.
I was really good at that.
We've got 30 seconds to go. Give me your impression of what you're looking at now ahead of the cup final,
I think you need to lose a couple of pounds.
He thinks that's funny. You think that's funny? You think that's funny?
Or maybe a stone.
That's not funny at all. What I see is I see an army of people.
I see no ships.
I see a wave of people coming into Wembley, half in red, half in blue.
Give us a prediction.
Very
the
good
Porky
atmosphere.
Jinx needs to be alive and well.
Okay.
You've already knackered BA today.
Okay.
You've already given massive problems to Celtic.
Yep.
Who are you going to back?
I have to say, head over heart, it's Chelsea.
Yep.
3-0.
3-0.
3-0.
All right.
I think Arsenal are going to implode today. I think it's going to be the end of the Arsene Wenger era, and I think it's going to be sad for Arsenal.
If Arsene Wenger does the thing that most of his fans want to do, which is to pick Danny Welbeck to start, Danny Welbeck and Sanchez will terrorise David Luiz. My prediction is it will be 2-2 and it will go to extra time, and Chelsea will win in extra time.
Oh, that's a very good prediction. That's an exciting prediction. I like it.
Okay. Listen, it's been a pleasure, Mr. Parry.
It certainly has.
It hasn't been as crazy as we thought it was going to be here in the bar at the Hilton, but it's been a wonderful 3 hours. We are the two Mikes. This is talkSPORT.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the two Mics on talkSPORT.
It's 90 minutes. I fancy nobody. Everybody's written us off.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the biggest thing you've got